today. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, praise the Lord and welcome to the program, everybody. Good to have you here. I'm Aide Lagos, Jimmy Lakey behind the microphone. You're in front of the speakers, and that's the way the good Lord intended this day to start. It really is. Glad to have you here on the show, and I'm honored, I'm thrilled, I'm tickled pink, if you will, to be here. Not like a pink commie, but it's just a figure of speech. That's all it is. A figure of speech. I mean no harm there. Just a figure of speech, not really pinko or anything like that. Michael Lett's going to be on the show today. Big time Michael Letts. Anybody remember Michael? Michael Letts, law enforcement expert, investusa.org. Michael Lett's going to be on the show today. You don't want to miss that. Also, Mary Graybar wrote a book about FDR and his socialist habits, and we'll talk about our modern-day lessons that we seemingly have not learned as a country about FDR and socialism and how it sucks, it doesn't work. Mary Graybar joins us on the show for a couple of topics as well this morning. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the show. It is the glorious day the Lord has made, the 30th day of July, year of our Lord 2025. You know what the end of July means coming up tomorrow? Getting towards the end of July means that we're getting real close to football season. Yesterday, he was home for a couple of days, took my son who plays the college ball out in Missouri. I took him back to the airport. He flew back. They begin their official fall workouts today. I know other schools are doing the same thing. High school kids going to go back to the work here real soon on the football field. I will be announcing a football game this year on a Friday night under the Friday Night Lights. I'll be doing that one more time again. So anyway, it's almost football season, and that makes me very, very, very happy. Now, what I do anticipate, the sorrow that comes is football begins. It makes me very happy. College ball, be taking several trips on the weekend to go see my son's team play. I'll be announcing games here in Colorado on a Friday night. I mean, I got my whole fall kind of planned out, but here's the part that breaks my heart. Along with football comes that there's going to be cold weather coming in the next few months, and that breaks my heart. So anyway, if producer Chad, since we've been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, this show on occasion during the cold, dire, nasty winter months might have to be on the road, and Brother Lakey might have to be elsewhere. I think this is a winter that I'm going to try to stay away from the cold weather. And so help me if I see cold weather forecast coming at me, and it's a day or so out, Brother Jimmy's heading to the airport, if the good Lord would allow it to happen. All right, good to have all of you here. That was an opening diatribe that was not necessarily on the list, but good to have you here on the program. Jaime Lagos is my name. Don't forget, let us know where you're listening from. Good morning to Jimmy and producer Chad from Arkansas. We also call it Arkansas. Good morning, everybody out there, wherever you're at, across the fruited plain, I think is what Rush Limbaugh used to say, under the starlit sky, if you're on the other side of the world, wherever you're at, let us know where you're at. We've got listeners all over, viewers all over. We can look at the data that comes in of who downloads the podcast and streamcast and things, and we are well represented in the across the globe. But if you're listening or watching live in a particular state, let us know. We hear from Missouri a lot. We hear from Texas a lot. We hear from Arkansas every morning, Wyoming, Colorado. They're all well represented. Anybody out in Florida this morning, shout out to us and say hi to you home, and we will consider this Hump Day Florida Day. If you're in Florida this morning, love to hear from you. All you have to do is comment in any of the chat rooms below. The feed that you're watching, Facebook, Twitter, you send a comment. Those generally show up right here into the studio. I do have to tell you that I think our Instagram feed is not up. I was going to say Instagram is the only platform that we have to actually physically go to Instagram and check, and it's not working, I don't think, this morning. So I'll see if we can work on it, but it's not working as of this moment. All right, let's get some headlines of the day. If you were up late yesterday evening or in the late afternoon, early evening, you know that there was an 8.8 earthquake that happened right off the coast of Russia. And that caused a tsunami warning throughout the Pacific, and that's not good. Very, very bad. Tsunamis, I was doing a little reading when I heard about tsunamis. I said, we don't hear you. First of all, you got to practice spelling it. Tsunami is one of those words that as a kid, if you're doing a report, and I don't know if we didn't have AI, we didn't have you had a dictionary, right? You didn't have a phone to ask or a computer to punch it in. So it's one of those, you would be spelling or doing some homework and you say, Mom, and she'd say, yes, little Jimmy. And I say, how do you spell tsunami? And she would say, look it up. And I would say, if I knew how to spell it, I could look it up. And since I don't know how to spell it, how do I look it up? Tsunami's a tricky one out there. I had to spot producer Chad, the spelling of it, but that is the correct spelling on the screen. Tsunami. It has a T on there. So I looked up tsunami. Where did that guy? No, seriously, did your mom ever tell you that, Delilah? She used to say, look it up. And I'm like, I can't look it up. I don't know how to spell it. And if I said that too many times or with too much emphasis, I usually could end up with a backhand and a slap across the head. That's what I could end up. So you got to be careful on how you do that. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. But the tsunami warning hit last night, and I was watching it in Hawaii and the coast of the Aleutian Islands off Alaska, all the way down to the Japanese coast. They were preparing and prepping for the tsunami to possibly hit them. Tsunami warnings. I guess a tsunami can move up to 500 miles per hour. And it is just this water wall that's come, and it's coming in like a freight train. In Hawaii, they were asking people to at least go in Maui up to a building, at least up to the 4th floor of the building. And that was what they were preparing for. There are stories now that there were balcony parties going on in Hawaii. And so I'm kind of watching it, fascinated by the tsunami thing. And they're very deadly, very dangerous. And that's a huge earthquake. And there was some rare video coming off the coast of Russia. I don't think it was a very populated area, so there wasn't a lot of active reporting of what happened there. But it was only 80 or so miles, the epicenter of that earthquake off the coast of Russia. So they were expecting this wall of water to go all the way to the west coast of the United States of America. Even producer Chad said he has a son out there that's hanging out in California a few days and had to evacuate where he was at because of the old tsunami warnings hitting last night. Well, I'm watching and I'm trying to spell the word tsunami, and I'm saying I've never been through a tsunami and I don't desire to go through a tsunami. No, thank you. There's a lot of things that I've been through, watched from afar. I'm not one of those that wants to ride out a hurricane, not on my bucket list. I'm going to try to stay away from weather and natural phenomenons like that the best of my ability. So I'm watching the whole thing, and if you know me, I don't watch all the cable shows. I don't sit all night and have Fox News on and just pay attention to it. It's something maybe on the background, but I very rarely am just watching a show from start to finish. So I record a lot of the cable shows, and then I find out who's getting an interview or what's going on, and I fast forward. I have the little, we don't call them a DVR anymore. It's just storage. You just zip it past it. So I'm watching, and I see this breaking news. Now, I'm like 2 hours after the fact, right, of the 2 or 3, 4 hours after the Hannity show. It's no longer live, but that's when I learned that there was a tsunami warning going on. They're waiting for the tsunami warning to go on. So they kept tripping back to some guy on the Fox Weather channel. I don't know if you know, there is one. There is a Fox Weather channel. I think they're trying to promote it quite a bit. And so what did they do? They go to him, and he's in a panicked voice. At first I thought he's afraid he's going to get cut off or interrupted by Hannity, which is not unusual. And so he's just talking fast. He was in a panic. And the tsunami's coming. I thought he was calling like a horse race for a second, doing the weather forecast. And I'm watching it, and then they're talking about the evacuations and go to higher ground and things. And now it is, at this point, it's 8 or 9 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone, right? It's evening in the Mountain Time Zone. And I think that show had aired 2 hours before. And I'm sitting there mystified as I'm hearing, boy, this is serious stuff. The Fox News channel says this is serious. And then they say this. They say, call your neighbors, call your relatives. If you have friends in Japan or Hawaii and Alaska, you do not want them to sleep through this. They have to evacuate immediately. They have to behave themselves. I'm thinking, wait, it's night. It's 8 or 9 o'clock in America. It's broad daylight in Japan. Why do I need to call and wake my friends up in Japan? Here's the tweet that I put out last night. And I'm not prolific on Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, please follow me. It's Jimmy Lakey. I know some of you watch the shows on various platforms on Twitter. Follow me. I'm not prolific on Twitter, but I was so angry by the stupidity these newscasters. Here's what I said. I said, Sean Hannity, the Fox Weather News, in a panic mode to tell people what was happening at nighttime. You must call your friends and warn your friends. Wake them up. Wake them up. Be like Paul Revere. The tsunami is coming. The tsunami is coming. I mean, they were imploring you, beseeching you there for brethren and sistren. To go to the highways and the byways and wake your friends up in Japan and wake your friends up in Hawaii and tell them don't sleep through the tsunami. The tsunami is coming. At the time that aired live, it was 4:15 p.m. in Hawaii, and it was 11:15 a.m. in Japan. I don't know if Fox News and Hannity and those cats didn't realize that perhaps the tsunami that it doesn't, just because it gets dark on the East Coast doesn't mean it gets dark everywhere else. There are things called time zones. Anybody else see that last night? And I just get a grip on yourselves over there. Dear Lord, get it together, Fox News. Stupidity. Anyway, the tsunami is coming. The tsunami is coming. Wake your friends up. They're more awake than I'm going to bed, and they're already awake. So it was an embarrassment for cable news last night, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised. And I don't know who was more panicked, the guy from the Fox Weather Channel or Sean Hannity. Call your friends in Japan. Wake them up. Call them in Hawaii. Don't let the tsunami take them out to sea. And I'm like, it's broad daylight there. You do realize that. Anyway, throw that out there for you. So tsunami, little to no effect. I don't see any great damage that was done, but I'm glad everybody prepared and was warned about that. What else do I have coming up on the show? Talk about Joe Biden. One of his aides is going in to testify today. Will this one plead the fifth? Or will this person actually give some answers about the Joe Biden mental health state? We'll talk about that. That could be developing during the show today. It is Steve Ricchetti. Evidently, he was considered kind of the gatekeeper, and he's going to be in front of the James Comer committee today. And the question is, or the Vegas line would be, is there going to be some testimony given, or will he plead the fifth? Longtime Democrat operative Steve Ricchetti appearing before the House investigators on Wednesday today. It's the seventh former White House aide member to be summoned for the Oversight Committee. Ricchetti is most recently served as a counselor to President Joe Biden during the vast majority of his four-year term. He's expected to sit down with the Oversight Committee. It is going to be a closed-door transcribed interview that could last several hours. Ricchetti said little to his reporters just now as he walked into the room. His lawyers said Fox News to expect a statement after his interview. He says, I'm not going to say anything on the way in. I'm just going to go in and give an interview, Ricchetti said to Fox News. And asked if Biden was up for the job. Ricchetti turned to the Fox News reporter and said, of course he was. So hold on to your hats. The hearing is going on now. We will see what's happening. He says he's going to go do an interview, but we shall see if that happens. All right, I mentioned football. I've got a story I want to get to here in just a bit after one of our guests, Michael Lutz, coming up next. Football story, but I don't know if you have seen this little story. But, oh, by the way, A.J. Rice, my friend A.J. Rice, who's a great author. He used to be the Laura Ingraham producer. He also has one of the published forms that we do a lot of work with on this show Monday. And heading into NFL season, if anybody has any Philadelphia Eagle memes painting Philadelphia Eagle fans for the panty-wearing boys that they are, I would like you to send those to me because A.J. Rice, the entire football season, trolls my beautiful face, and he haunts me and taunts me because he's a nasty, nasty Philadelphia Eagles fan, which by definition, they're unshowered, unshaven, unkempt people. And so A.J. tortures me all the season because I happen to have some Dallas Cowboy fandom inside of me. I have some tendencies that cheer for the Cowboys, right? They disappoint me. I understand it, but that's kind of my heartfelt team. And AJ gives me total hell all football season about this. So AJ's got a book out. He used to be Laura Ingram's producer. You might have seen him on television. AJ's going to be on the show Monday. And if any of you have any and there only should be anti-Philadelphia Eagle memes, I would like for you to send those to me. Send them to info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com, because the moment that AJ on Monday during the interview that we're going to do live on the show, the moment that he talks some crap to me about the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to go full nuclear on the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll have to inquire whether AJ even showered for the interview, because personal hygiene for a Philadelphia Eagles fan is not necessarily a paramount. So anyway, if you have any memes or things that I can present in if needed in the arsenal, I have the arrows in my quiver when it comes to Philadelphia Eagles. That interview is coming up on Monday, and I would love to have your help in that. So feel free to just send that along. All right, I want to get to my guest here, Michael Letts here, but there's a couple of stories we'll do want to get to in the NFL. A couple of experienced NFL players recently made a shocking retirement announcement. Have you heard this? New York Jets running back Zach Evans, Washington Commanders offensive guard Nate Herberg, both in their 20s, decided to call it quits. Started the preseason, and they said, screw it, we're out of here. So they took off. So there's been a couple of these exits that are shocking people, that these were younger players that were not necessarily expected to, they weren't necessarily high impact players, but they weren't going to be on the roster. And they said, no, we're out of here. So a couple of stories shocking the NFL about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have I followed anything producer Chad on the schedule? I don't think I have. Yeah, we'll get to it. I'll get to all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to Michael Letts, our great friend, investusa.org, law enforcement guru and man of the law, man about law, order, justice, and protecting officers. And Michael Letts, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Always a pleasure with you, Jimmy, and it's going to be a great interview with you and AJ. Looking forward to hearing that one myself.
I just got to be prepared for AJ. You know AJ, and he is a dirty dog, a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I'm surprised a man of your integrity would associate with people that are Philadelphia Eagles fans. I mean, you're about law and order, except you hang out with that criminal element from Philadelphia. It's not good.
He keeps telling the QT was around me, Jimmy.
Well, I'm hoping, again, listeners, if you have anything that we could present to prove the dirty, rotten scoundrels of the Philadelphia Eagles, send that to info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. All right, Michael, that's lots of stories to get into. I want to get your take. It's not on the schedule, but producer Chad mentioned this before the show. Do you see that Bongino tweet that he has seen some things in the government that have shaken him to the bones? And I'm
Correct.
horrified by that statement, and I agree that he has seen these things. When are we going to see these things, and when is somebody going to be held accountable?
I think you have a very great question there, Jimmy. We know the things that Dan's talking about. I know Dan well. And quite frankly, I think what Dan is implying and what he's looking at is it's not just a couple incidences. It's the fact that our whole system has been corrupted deep to its core. Our agencies have been corrupted, from everything from intelligence agencies to law enforcement agencies to the presidency, the office of the presidency. And by seeing what he has seen, the question becomes, can we get all the information out? Not is it available? Can we get it out? Because of the players are so powerful and so deeply root-setted here, that is it technically feasible that we're going to get it all out? I can tell you this, Jimmy. We're going to do everything we can to try. I can't promise it'll all be out because they're trying to destroy some of those records now as we speak. But it's time to hold people accountable. America demands it. I think it's beyond the point of a crisis. And I think you're going to see it happen. I really do.
I really hope so, because there's this feeling in America that you and I do something, the average Joe does something, we're going to be held accountable. But you do some pretty nasty stuff or get alleged to at the highest echelons of office, some of it almost treasonous behavior, some of it perverted behavior. And there's not even really a hearing about this. And if we're going to restore faith in our justice system, whether it's Pam Bondi or whether it's Matt Gaetz or whether it's under the Trump administration or any administration, we have to feel that Lady Justice is once again holding a scale and wearing a blindfold. And it seems like that blindfold has come off and that scale has been tilted in favor of those that are rich and famous and can get by with crap.
Well, you're right, Jimmy. Very clearly, there's a two-tier justice system right now. Let's look at one of the consequences. Look at what you see on YouTube and TikTok, what happened in Cincinnati with them mugging people who were just innocent walking down a park. It's like the violence is the craze now. It's like our young people want to assault people, film it, and see who can get the most views on the next Rumble or TikTok. Why do they feel that way? I think we've sent a clear message over time with our government that it's a two-tier justice system, and quite frankly, people are disgusted by it. They'd rather like there's no justice at all. So they're just absolutely gone bonkers, Jimmy.
Yeah, the shooting that happened in New York City, and this was a guy that thinks he has some brain damage because of, I guess he played high school football, and so
Correct.
wanted to shoot up the NFL, but he couldn't get in the right elevator, so he shot up the. Anyway, it's a long, crazy story. Even rather than just get to the bottom of the story and tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, even the media in this story had to say, "Oh, we think it's probably a white guy," and all that. You're like, why do we even have to go there? Why not just tell us the truth about what happened, whether it's a white guy or a black guy or a politician or somebody? Just let us know the truth. But even CNN in that moment, while they weren't protecting the rich and the famous, had to drive a narrative that made bad crap crazy leftist happy, to bring some kind of a racial divide, rather than being focused on equal justice and protecting and who suffered, who died. They were trying to drop some race story.
Well, you're exactly right. I'll tell you, on this particular story, it raises an awful lot of questions, Jimmy. We know that there were accomplices that helped him build those firearms. We know that this was a planned out, orchestrated movement. And quite frankly, there seems to be some indication that with some of these sleeper terrorist cells may have had an involvement. And I know the American people want to know the truth. They want to know, are we dealing with terrorist attacks? Because we're seeing so many of them prevalent. Why would a person blame the NFL for a high school injury? It doesn't make any sense at all. But yet one of the people that he killed was from Blackwell, which of course you've heard that name many times before on the Crocs with the assassination attempt against President Trump and others. So there's an underlying issue here that we're resolving. We're trying to investigate very quickly, Jimmy. But it's amazing to me how much pushback we get. Everybody wants to keep it quiet. Don't say anything. Why not? I think spilling the truth that sunlight's the best cleanser. I think that's what we need to be doing, Jimmy.
Another story happened this week. A couple of tales on this one. The Michigan Walmart stabbing. There was a hero that jumped up and confronted the guy, but still a horrible thing happening at a Walmart in Michigan. Give me your take on this and talk about this hero who is a Marine.
Well, quite frankly, here's what happened: is you had this particular assailant come in. He cased the place for 30 minutes, so you can't tell me he got mad because they weren't waiting on him fast enough. He cased the place for 30 minutes, then decided to take an opportunity, pulled out a hunting knife, a folded blade, his 3.5-inch blade, and just began attacking anybody that was close to him. After a few minutes of that, and the crowd began to he decided to exit. He runs out the front door and gets confronted with a former Marine who happens to be carrying a firearm, a concealed weapon permit. He draws his firearm. He confronts him, and then, of course, by then, the rest of the crowd from Walmart's come running out, and they surround him, and they're able to contain him until police get there 3 minutes later. Here's what's interesting in that fact: whether it's Walmart with the knife, whether it's New York with the assault rifle, the first response from the leftist media is, see, that's why we need gun control. You've got to get rid of all these violence, all these armaments. Well, these two incidents occur in states and locations that have the highest gun control anywhere in the country. Jimmy, that narrative is so old that you'd think they'd find something else to replace it with. The place with the highest violent crimes are those that have the highest gun control restrictions.
Yeah. Now they're going to charge this guy with terrorism. Usually when you hear terrorism, that usually seem to reserve that for some kind of international terrorism. Break down this charge of terrorism. Just because you terrorize someone at Walmart, are they going to expand the definition of that, or am I missing some motive of this guy?
You're missing a motive on the guy, Jimmy. And here's what's going on. We have now known at least 120, if not more, sleeper terrorist cells in this country. We know here's how they originated. Many of them came over as Islamic jihadists. They were funded by foreign governments. They took that opportunity to go into our higher education system and preach what? America is bad. America is a horrible place that should be corrected. It should be punished for doing so. Young people begin to believe that rhetoric, and that's why you're getting the violence that you're seeing, and they're putting it on TikTok now. But because of that, they've expanded. They've recruited U.S. citizens to help with this cause, and their tentacles have expanded to where it's of no surprise that these sleeper cells are beginning to coordinate events and attacks across the country. You're going to see a lot more with Jimmy until we focus our efforts on eradicating them.
It's going to be quite fascinating because the left continues to push back on all of our efforts to get these terrorists and criminals off the street, deport them back to the country of their origin. The left continues to fight this. Would something like this stabber in the Walmart in Michigan, isn't that something that should wake up the American left, that maybe we have some bad hombres that need to be brought to justice?
Jimmy, I love the way you think, and I would like to think anybody with any common sense would wake up to. But the left, I believe, have got an amoeba in their brain that's eating what's left of it. They don't have a brain left. But quite frankly, you take a look. I was just going to give you another classic example. Their new strategy now on the leftist liberal judges activist side is we now have criminal illegal immigrants. They're saying, guess what? I've just decided to become a transgender. That's not accepted in my country. So if you send me back, I'm liable to be harmed, so I need to be given immediate political asylum in this country, regardless that I'm here illegally, regardless that I'm a criminal. I need to be protected from the consequences in my country. And you have judges agreeing with it. Oh, yeah, by all means, remove him immediately, grant him some kind of immediate asylum status. I'll give him asylum status, all right, 6 feet under.
Yeah. The voice of Michael Letts, I want you to talk about, I'm talking about his organization, investusa.org, investusa.org. But Michael, I have a story here I have not introduced to the audience. It's our question of the day, so I'm going to let you go first on it. And,
I love it.
But here's the question of the day. Poll was done, and I know that there is a Mrs. Letts out there. So a poll was done, 25,000 people were polled, and they looked at the most popular pet names that people use as couples. Honey is still popular, but it's trending down. Babe is now the most popular pet name for couples in America. Honey is in second place, but that's mostly used by people of older generations. Sweetheart is one of the pet names people have. Honey, baby, boo, dear, angel, sugar, pumpkin. A lot of pet names. All right, Michael Letts, does Mrs. Letts have a pet name for you, and do you have a pet name for her?
Yeah, hard-headed for me. Hey, hard-headed. Of course, I'll defend on my side. I'm always, the gentleman. Babe, how you don't use honey anymore. But babe works just fine. But hard-headed seems to works pretty good for me.
Well, better than calling you a dumbass. That's
next. You might hear this interview, Jimmy. You might have started something.
That's bad. Michael, that's always a pleasure. Talk about investusa.org, sir.
Thank you. God bless and God bless America. Take care, Jimmy.
All right, you got investusa.org. They provide safety devices and vest and body armor for cops on the street, and whether they're protecting us from illegal aliens and that need to be deported, or just on the standard beat in America. They want to make sure the officers of all ilks have the protection they need, and they can do that you can do that and help at investusa.org. investusa.org. All right, I got another guest coming up, but I do want to get to this question of the day, and that is, what is your favorite pet name that you use for your significant other? What is your pet name that you use for your significant other? Baby is 10% of Americans say baby is that's number 3 on the list. That's the third most popular. It's also the most popular pet name for Gen Z. If you're a Gen Zer, you're most likely to call your significant other baby. If you're 6%, number 4 on the list is sweetheart. Again, that's more popular than older couples. Older couples are more likely to refer their significant other as sweetheart. Love, hello, love, 6%. And you have to ask, what do we have? 6% British people? Hello, love. Was Neil Scrivilius on this thing? I don't know. 6%. It's number 5 on the list. And I don't have any explanation other than British. I mean, I know people that call each other sweetheart, baby, honey, babe, all that stuff. But I've never known anyone say, hey, love. I've never known anyone to do that, but it sounds very elegant, doesn't it? 2% say they use terms like dear, hey, boo, hey, bae, darling, and 1% call their partner angel, sugar, or pumpkin. The poll also found that couples use pet names for each other on a regular basis. Over half of couples use pet names. 10% do not want their partner to use a pet name, and 4% absolutely hate pet names. So anyway, that's your question of the day. Put them on all the forums out there, Facebook, etc. What is that pet name that you have for your boo or your babe? And what pet name does she have for you? Scott says at age 64, he calls her Sweetie. Or maybe she calls him sweetie. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Let me go to my next guest of the morning. Excuse me as I cough up a storm here, and I apologize. On the video screen, it's hard to do. In old radio days, you could punch the button. Real quick, I'm going to go to Mary Graybar, wrote a book called Debunking FDR, the man of the myth of FDR. We'll talk to Mary here in just a moment about lessons we seemingly have not learned about FDR to carry over into modern day. We'll go to Mary here in just a moment. Don't forget the question today. And also, don't forget, Friday, September the 5th is our annual golf tournament for Rivers Promise, our charity here that I started. And I appreciate you registering and trying to be a part of that great golf event, 9th annual Rivers Promise golf event. It's Friday, September the 5th. We have a couple of registration. Well, registration is open. We also have some sponsorship opportunities available as well. So if you would like to be a part of that, which I know you would like to be, I know you would, Friday, September the 5th, go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. You should see a pop-up at the top of the screen that also say check out our events, and you will see the Friday, September 5th event. It's our 9th annual golf tournament. I will be there. Producer Chad will be there. It's always it's always a festive event for sure, and a lot of names that you have heard participate in radio and television and advertising and sponsors. They're always lurking around there, and some people go, wow, I heard you for years, and I get to meet you in person. So don't want to be name dropping, but it's always a good time. You don't want to miss it. All right. Riverspromise.org. I will see you on Friday, September the 5th. I did notice that producer Chad has a title he gives me. And the title he gives me today is not about my station in life. It's about my hunger and desire. And it just simply says, I want Whataburger. And ladies and gentlemen, there is truth to that. Every day that I live, I want Whataburger. When I venture down to Dallas, you would be surprised of all the times I'd be down there 3 or 4 days. I pretty much would say majority of those times I pretty much today say that I would eat Whataburger every meal almost, and I kind of do. I mean, I find breakfast there, I find lunch there. Sometimes I find afternoon snacks there. So it's a very true statement by producer Patel, also known as producer Chad. I want Whataburger. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we may have audio only on Mary Graber. Let's test this out and see. Mary, welcome to the program. Are you there?
Yes, I am here. Let me just flip one button and see if that will work.
There you go. We have a clear audio. That's a good sign. So that's a good thing. Mary Graybar wrote a book called Debunking FDR, and we got to get a copy of the book. There's also a long-form interview of that that's up on our Lakey Unleashed streamcast. If you want to go find podcast, you want to find that, you can indeed load that up. And when you do so, you can find the Mary Graybar interview. We did a long form about the book. Did it about 8 or 9 months ago. So go find that. Go to any podcast platform that you like, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and just look up Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, and you should be able to scroll down and find the Mary Graybar long form interview about her book, Debunking FDR. Mary, are you still there with me?
I'm still here. I'm just trying to...
All right. Well, it looks like you may be having camera trouble. I want to dive in here. You wrote about the days of FDR, and it seems like there's lessons in history we have not learned. We have a communist social wealth redistributor running for mayor of New York City. We have one in Minneapolis as well. It's amazing of all the lessons that we should have learned about FDR and socialism and things that don't really work long-term in government. Have the lessons of FDR not been learned by this generation?
They have not, because most of the historians and the textbook writers are great big fans of FDR. And to the contrary, they're taught that the policies that FDR implemented, that redistributed the wealth, that gave us Social Security and insurance, health insurance, and socialized medicine, actually saved the country. And so we should be grateful for all these big government programs. And so, of course, young people think, oh, well, if that was good, just give us more. And then we have, the candidate, the leading candidate for the mayor of New York City, actually coming out and telling the young democratic socialists that they should seize the means of production, that was the end goal. He comes right out and says it, and that's straight out of the Communist Manifesto. And so we can't beat around the bush on this one. He's come out and said it, and he's been caught on tape.
The name of your book is called Debunking FDR, the Man and the Myths. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn more about the book, we did a long-form interview with Mary several months ago, and you can find it again on all the podcast platforms. Just look up Jimmy Lakey Unleashed and scroll down in the archives, and you should see that long-form interview there with Mary Graybar. The name of the book, Debunking FDR, the Man and the Myths. We think of the world that we're living in now. Donald Trump, obviously, very big player on the world stage, garnered respect, whether you like him or not. I think that just the fact that he was hosting people at his own castle in the United Kingdom, having leaders come to his castle or his house on his golf course, as opposed to going to their presidential palace, I thought that was kind of a power move. So you think that the mindset of capitalism and trade is permeating throughout the globe, and Donald Trump is setting the atmosphere. However, right on cue, CNN has a story that a former United Kingdom Labour Party leader wants to take on the rich and the powerful by redistributing wealth. So even though Donald Trump is having a great realignment going on among the worlds and the powers and capitalism and booming economies, not everybody's gotten the memo, and some people still wanting to do class warfare.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's been the appeal for centuries now. For those who don't know the past, it's very appealing to keep doing that. But of course, that's the way you accrue power, is by promising the peasants that you will, give them all the land of the lords, and that they will be landowners and they will have the wealth. And then eventually, or very soon, you redistribute that wealth. So it's a way to acquire power. And if you are someone who does not like our Judeo-Christian heritage, or believe in another set of values, that's a great way for you to impose your values on a constitutional republic.
Mary, let me ask you this question. Do we have an education problem in America that we just didn't learn this fact of history of how socialism doesn't work? Is it a media problem that we're just not being told what my Mom Dami and these other jackwagons actually think? I mean, where's the disconnect here? How did we get to a place to where this type of message resonates anywhere, especially in the United States of America? Where is what's the missing link here that we obviously didn't figure out?
Well, I, like you said, it's in education and the media. And I've actually taught students who'd never heard of the word communism. I mentioned it during a lecture, and I was talking about a writer, and I said that the story we were going to be discussing was written during his communist phase. They'd never heard the word communism. This was about a third of the class. So these are college sophomores. And so they're not taught that. And if they have heard it, they associate it with the quote, Red Scare, that it was a figment of the imagination. So the anti-communists who have ridiculed people in past generations who had a legitimate fear of communism have had their view prevail. And you see that also in the media, where you have a false dichotomy between communism and fascism. And you have people like Rachel Maddow writing books about fascism and completely distorting history and saying that basically if you don't accept communist principles, then you must be a fascist. So it's everywhere. It's hard to get the true picture of what communism or socialism is like.
So we have a generation today, and news media is complicit in this, that kind of bastardizes the true history about communism and socialism and the redistribution of wealth, the same way they bastardized the true myth about FDR, the true story about the man FDR, and you talk about this in your book. Obviously, again, the blindness, there's this government-run grocery store in Kansas City that is failing, and nobody that's thinking Mom Donnie's going to do this in New York wants to talk about the Kansas City store. So it just doesn't work. So we know it doesn't work, but they have this myth about FDR and myth about socialism and myth about government redistribution that's worked elsewhere, and they base it on a distorted view of an interpretation of history. Where did FDR get his influence? How did this big government expansionism, socialism type model, where was he influenced? How did he come about with that kind of thought?
Well, he was influenced in his childhood. He thought of himself as basically Lord of the nation, as Edmund Wilson, a left-wing writer, put it. He saw himself as presiding over the country the same way his father presided over their estate of 100 acres on the Hudson River Valley, and telling the tenant farmers and the carpenters and the stable boys what to do, and bossing them around and knowing what was best for the lower orders. So Franklin Roosevelt was really a feudalist at heart. He did not believe in self-rule. He felt that there was a class of people that by virtue of their birth knew what was best for everyone else. And, he knew he couldn't become king, but he tried his best to rule like a king or a dictator.
At that point, our founders or our government had always kind of wanted to stay small. Was it just that desire to be a dictator and desire to be the king on the throne that's giving out blessings and stuff? Was that kind of where his socialism came from? That, hey, we've got these coffers and I'm the king. I might as well do good things for the people.
Exactly. Yes. So, there was a combination of influences. And of course, people are shaped by their backgrounds and their childhood. Sometimes they reject it. But he grew up in a family. He was an only child, was pampered and spoiled, got everything he wanted, and had a mother who was very austere and looked down on people and would not let him really communicate with, the regular everyday people. And he, got that attitude from her, and he internalized it. And even though he put on, a show of being one of the people, being for the so-called common man, deep down he was not. And in the background, he is cooperating with the titans of industry, the very wealthy, and rigging the economic system so it benefits big business and those who are of the upper classes. And that's why the Depression went on for so long.
You have some of these socialist communists today, Mamdani, they look back at Castro and maybe Stalin, and they become, in a sense, ideologues. They misinterpret history, but they become ideologues. It doesn't sound like FDR was necessarily an intellectual ideologue. He just kind of viewed himself on a higher plane and higher echelon. Am I missing something? Were there, I guess, intellectual thought leaders that were guiding him, and he was consuming their diatribes, or did he just kind of scheme this up on his own?
Well, it was a combination of both. You're correct. He was not an intellectual by any stretch of the imagination. He was known for not being a reader. He only read dime store mystery novels and books about ships. But when it came to history or political science or philosophy or literature, he was not a reader. He was not interested in ideas. He was a C student at Harvard. He got gentleman's C's at Harvard. He went there because it was expected of him, and paid very little attention to his studies. But, these ideas were kind of swirling around. It was the progressive era. He picked them up here and there, phrases. I don't even know if he understood everything, but it kind of jibed with how he saw himself as being this lord of the nation. He would direct the people in terms of what was best for them, because he knew what was best. He knew what jobs they should have. And he was, actually for compulsory labor. I don't think a lot of people know this, but when he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy during World War I, even before the war started, he was talking about and writing about being able to send men and women, some to the trenches, some to the sewing machines, to prepare for the war. And he proposed that again during World War II. So basically what would happen is if you were living someplace in a certain town or city, and if the government said, well, we need you, you're living in Des Moines, we need you over here in Salt Lake City, well, you have to go and you have to take this job because this is where you are needed. He was not allowed to go that far, but he tried during both wars.
Wow. Mary Graybar, again, my guest. She's written a book called Debunking FDR. I have a long-form interview with her at the Lakey Unleashed, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed podcast, streamcast. You can go find that. We dive deep into the heart and the soul and the mind of FDR and his life, his marriage, his parent, his lineage, his parents. It's a long interview, and that's up at, again, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed on all the podcast platforms. Go find that, and you can find the Mary Graybar interview. Mary, fast forwarding back here to the future, lessons that we should have learned in history. When you watch this Mamdani cat, this guy in Minneapolis, when you just watch this continued adulation about forms of government that just do not work and policies that do not work long-term, and they don't lift people up, they end up dragging people down. What is there one message you would have for them? I mean, if there's one part of FDR's life that they should have learned the lesson from, or in history in general, when it comes to socialism and redistribution of wealth, is there one thing that you're like, please let me climb the water tower with a spray paint can and put this message up for all to see?
Well, I would put down the fact that there were 100 million killed in the 20th century because of communism. And then I would maybe bring it down to the everyday level and say, do you own any gold? Do you have any gold coins? Do you have an investment in gold? What if your leader, your political leader says, okay, you have to line up at the bank on Monday and hand in all your gold? Well, that's what FDR did. Wow. What if you have a business and you want to compete with the big guys? You're just a sole proprietor, or you have a few employees, and you say, well, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to give this service for a little less. I'm going to charge a little less. And what if the government said, no, you can't do that. You have to charge a certain amount that we say you charge. And then you're driven out of business. So that's what life was like under FDR, everyday life. And with the rules that someone like Mamdani would implement, we can see that increased regulation and, of course, bare grocery shelves, no police, crime running rampant, just chaos and disorder. And that would be the first step. Of course, the bigger goal is the communist takeover.
Wow. Mary Graybar, it's always a pleasure. It's always great to remind ourselves that there's a lot we can learn from history. And if we learn it, we won't repeat it, hopefully. And unfortunately, maybe that's why we are repeating some of the stupidity, because we did not learn these lessons that you're talking about. Debunking FDR, if folks want to follow your work and or get your book, where do they go, ma'am?
Well, you can buy the book any place books are sold, and you can get on my email list at dissidentprof.com, and prof is short for professor, dissidentprof.com. And if you want to read my other articles that I have published frequently, you can go to marygraybar.com.
marygraybar.com, debunking FDR. I appreciate you hopping on the program. And again, long form interview. We talk deep dive in the book, probably 30, 45 minutes, long interview on the book, and that's on the podcast platforms. Go find it. Mary, appreciate you hopping on, and God bless you. We'll talk to you again soon. And that's Mary Graybar. And again, you can just look her up, and the name of the book is called Debunking FDR. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing out there? We got a question of the day out there. And that question of the day is, what is the pet name that you have for your significant other? Scott said sweetie earlier. Stacy says, hey, babe, or blue eyes. That's what she says to her husband. What do you say to your spousal unit? What do you say to your significant other? There's some people that actually despise having a pet name. They don't like using a pet name or being referred to as a pet name. Does anybody there, like 4% of people say never, ever, ever. Anybody out there have an aversion to pet names? And let us know what your pet names are. Delilah has a lot of pet names for me, many which cannot be repeated because she just calls me bad things. Producer Chad, I think he says, hey, friend, hey, brother. Until I'm not looking, then he says, hey, Jack. No, I don't know. I'm joking. I jest. The question of the day is, what is your pet name for your significant other? What is your pet name for your significant other? I'm sitting in the chair. You can't see. And I feel the chair, the what is it called? The mat behind the chair. It's moved and it's shifting, and I feel my chair sliding out from behind me because that would be funny if I just took a butt seat right there during the show. I could feel it moving. I was like, whoa, it's moving. And then I realized, anyway, it's all about the thing that the chair rolls on the floor. Yeah, it's all about that. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the show. Let us know your pet name for your significant other. It looks like we have a troll out there, Sophia, earlier. I mentioned that Joe Biden's, one of his counselors, if you will, his gatekeeper, I guess Sophia's got her girdle in a knot there. Biden, LMFAO. That's naughty words, right? Their abbreviation. You're still talking about Biden? Hashtag release the Epstein files. I wonder if Sophia ever used a hashtag release the Epstein files when Joe Biden had control of the Epstein files. If he had control of the Epstein files. See, that's the thing. No one knows who has control of these, but Trump says we don't really have much. We want the grand jury. Why don't you read the grand jury? The judge says you can't have the grand jury. Sophia, if you're still listening with your girdles all bunched up, pay attention. Sophia, I'm going to teach you a lesson. First of all, don't troll the show. Have something to say, but you're an intellectually bankrupt human being. The fact that you want to use the hashtag and virtue signal among your Subaru Outback lesbian type friends out there, release the Epstein files. If you didn't use that hashtag Sophia back when your Lord and Savior Barry Hussein Obama was in office, or if you didn't use that hashtag Sophia back when Joe Biden was crapping his pants in the Oval Office, if you didn't use that hashtag then, don't be using that hashtag now. I'm all for releasing the Epstein files. I'm all for that to come out. But don't come in here trolling us, pretending as if you have some moral virtue because you want the Epstein files out and we're talking about Joe Biden. Maybe that was what, if you really wanted the Epstein files out, maybe you should be ticked off at Joe Biden because they were under his curation, probably hiding behind Hunter Biden's Coke bag for 4 years in the Oval Office. So, Sophia, you have been exposed to everyone out there that you're nothing more than a troll and a hack. And again, if you really wanted the Epstein files released, you actually should be talking about Joe Biden and not ignoring Joe Biden because Donald Trump has had, quote, control of the Epstein files or the Oval Office for 6 months. And Joe Biden has had it for 4 years and never did a thing. So, Sophia, stop feigning your stupidity. Pull your girdle out of a bunch and maybe go troll someone else because intellectually you have exposed yourself with that sentence, the hypocrisy that you put there. Sophia, you are an intellectually bankrupt human being. And until you can come in here, you don't have to agree with the show, but don't be intellectually bankrupt, okay? Don't. Stop it. Knock it off, because at that point, you're just a troll, all right? She's probably already gone, but nevertheless, I wanted to get that off my chest. Was that too harsh? Delilah gives me the thumbs up. It probably was too harsh. I don't know. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Speaking of intellectually bankrupt, like Sophia, can I talk about... I want to talk about Jasmine Crockett. Hey, see the segue there? I'm a trained professional. Jasmine Crockett is trying to shut down The Atlantic. It's a magazine. It's a publication. Not the whole magazine, but she wanted to shut down a piece because she got upset. Jasmine is all upset. Jasmine, like Sophia's, got her girdle in a bunch. Jasmine allegedly told The Atlantic she was shutting down after learning its profile. After learning the author had reached out to other Democrats without telling her. Staff writer Elaine Godfrey described in an article on Sunday that Jasmine Crockett called her 4 days before the piece was published to say how frustrated she was that I had reached out to so many House members without telling her first. She told me shutting down the profile, revoking all the permissions, because evidently they were trying to talk to some of her colleagues, Jasmine's colleagues, and Jasmine was very upset by that. Democrats quoted in the article include progressive strategist Max Burns, strategist James Carville, Texas Representative Tony Rose, and U.S. House of Representatives Julie Johnson of Texas, Robert Garcia of California. 13 of her colleagues on the Oversight and Judiciary Committee all wanted to participate in this story about Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine got her girdle in a bunch because how dare you talk to my friends and get their opinion, or some of my colleagues and other Democrats. So Jasmine's threatening the Atlantic because, again, intellectually bankrupt people do not want the Atlantic to put out a piece that's sourced from many different sources. So there is that. Kind of opposite of Sophia and opposite of Jasmine Crockett, Mark Zuckerberg says that super intelligence is not far away. It's not far away from some of us, but from Jasmine Crockett and those people, it's very far, far away. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, is revealing his vision for America and the future of the world. He says everyone's going to have access to their own personal super intelligence. It means the concept is coming where AI assistants will be personalized and not just like tools with chatbots. Many personalized artificial intelligences tailored to your habits, your preferences, your goals, and even your thinking style. Zuckerberg is trying to take the Meta platform to build personal and private, powerful, customizable AI companions that will help you from everything from productivity and communication to health and learning. To make this vision a reality, Zuckerberg is investing billions of dollars right now in AI research, state-of-the-art data centers. By the way, did you hear that the AI data centers in Wyoming are now, Wyoming's a very sparsely populated state, but there's a story, I don't have it at my fingertips, that the AI data centers in Wyoming are using more energy than the rest of the state to fuel those things. But anyway, this new announcement by Mark Zuckerberg, he's describing a digital clone that could integrate seamlessly into your daily life, potentially powering devices like, there's a lot of, he thinks that you're going to have your own personal access to super intelligence that's customized for you. And we would love for someone like Sophia and or Jasmine Crockett to have at least some intelligence. Forget just super intelligence. For some people, let's start with the basic level and let's just have some intelligence. And for the rest of us, personal super intelligence is on its way. That's kind of scary, isn't it? It really is. All right. What else do I have? I got this one more story. We'll put the rest till tomorrow. This is a Maha report about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's one I teased yesterday, so I want to get to it today. And the story is over 2,000 U.S. communities are grappling with unsafe per and poly fluorobacalo. I can't even say the word. They're called PFAs. It's chemical levels in their water, according to an updated report from the Environmental Working Group (EWG) at the in the Health Department of the United States. As of 2020, there were so many contaminated sites nationwide, nearly 3,000 new ones. Not every site of these chemicals represents a unique community. Let me put the story out, because when Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s health initiatives began to merge as Make America Healthy Again, it birthed a whole new awareness of all of the chemicals that are in our food and water supply. And so now, as people are paying attention to it, people are shocked to hear that these PFAs are in thousands of sources and thousands of communities, and are asking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as part of the Make America Healthy Again movement, to start looking at these food and water chemicals. In recent months, the Trump administration has pushed to remove fluoride from public water supply, with the Kennedy directing the Center for Disease Control to review its fluoridation recommendation, and the EPA to reassess fluoride safety. You have the first state to ban fluoride in public water was Utah. That was happened March of this year, and it's effective in May of this year. Florida followed Utah and has also banned fluoride in public water supplies. These PFAs, including the fluoride, have been an issue of concern for decades by the EPA, and they have been linked to cancers, immune suppression, hormonal issues, liver damage, and developmental problems in children. They're known as forever chemicals because of their synthetic compounds used since the 1940s in a wide range of consumer goods, including nonstick cookware, etc. So anyway, a new awareness to make America healthy again. And the chemical compounds that are in your water, we've known them as fluoride, and in other sources, and people are paying attention to it. Let me put this story out there because a lot of you are paying attention maybe now to health and wellness more than you ever have before. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for what we call the meme roulette section of the show, and that's where we steal memes. We just go around the globe. We steal memes from where we don't always know, but we just take them. We rip them off. Cold-blooded rip-off is what we do, and we're not ashamed of it because producer Chad and I, we're going to be tired after the show. We don't have to do much more work on us making our own memes, do we? We already make the show ourselves, so we might as well not make memes. In my hand, I have a globe. And let's do it. Let's do it. Ready for this? Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Here's our first meme of the day. Sharks can smell blood, dogs can smell drugs, but humans can't even smell themselves when they need deodorant. We're talking to some of you out there. You understand? Yeah, we're talking to you. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Dentist. You're brushing your teeth wrong. Nutritionist says you're eating wrong. Parent says you're living wrong. And the liquor store guy says, excellent choice. Yeah, that kind of rings a bell, doesn't it? Yeah, that happens there. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. That's a beautiful ostrich. An ostrich will often walk around and then forget where they're going. I've never related more of my life to an animal in my life. My spirit animal. An ostrich walking around, forget where they're going. Yeah, that happens. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Cincinnati police chief asked citizens not to film crimes next time as it makes her look bad. Did you see that? She was like, people standing around with their camera. Now, she did have a point. People were standing out the Cincinnati attack that happened. There was like one 911 call and 100 people watching these white people get attacked. It was tragic. It really is horrible. And so there is a joke to that. Hey, put down your phones and call 911 and stop posting this viral stuff. Why don't you call the police? Well, no one called the police. Hundreds of people filmed it. So there's some truth to that funniness of Babylon Bee, but there is some advice there. If you see an assault happening, maybe filming is not your first priority. Maybe getting help there would be. And by the way, no one else stepped in either. They just wanted to film it. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We're so old, we remember when a sugar daddy was just a candy. Delilah? Oh, my goodness. All right, I think that's, we have one more maybe. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. We have milked the meme machine dry. Ladies and gentlemen, can I talk about Sherry? Homeswithsherry.com. Realtor extraordinaire, great friend of the program, great friend of our charity, Rivers Promise. And I just want to recommend that if you're thinking about real estate transaction, you're in the Denver area, you're in the Fort Collins area, Boulder, Broomfield, you get the Highlands Ranch, Parker, Aurora, anywhere that I-25 corridor, Sherry wants to help you make the moving in, moving out, expanding, rental property. She wants to help you make the right decision. Now, if you're in an area that she doesn't feel she has expertise in, she will, my friends, be able to do a referral service for you. She offers that free and complimentary as well, and she can find you someone of like mind. And when I say of like mind, you have to get in the mind of how Sherry thinks. She approaches it not just about putting a sign in your yard and getting your home sold quick and top dollar. That's fine. I think every realtor would like to sell your home for top dollar and as quickly as possible, right? But she wants to look at it in a different way. It's not just a great sale. It's not just a good deal for you as the buyer or the seller, but she wants to look at it that, hey, down the road, you're going to want another house. You're going to want to expand. You're going to need another bedroom. You're going to need another car in the garage. You're going to want a house with an outbuilding. You're going to want to move out of the city to acreage. She wants to become your realtor for life. She knows that if you make right decisions along the way when it comes to real estate, she knows that can create generational wealth. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. That's her website. And again, maybe you're not ready to do that real estate right now, but she's had people literally call her and talk to her, interview, kind of have a conversation, and they move on their merry way. And then they call her about 6 months, a year later and say, we're ready. And she says, oh, I thought you maybe had chosen someone else. No, we chose you, but we decided that we're just going to work on stuff. Homeswithsherry.com. 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 Make sure you reach out to her and to thank her for the support of the program, but also let her help you use real estate to create generational wealth. Homeswithsherry.com. Question of the day continues to spark some conversation there in the chat rooms. Arloa says, I mostly call Jerry Babe, but I also call him Tim from Tim Taylor. Tim the Toolman Taylor. So Arloa just makes up a whole different name for her husband. His name's Jerry. She calls him Babe, and then she says, hey, Tim. Can you imagine, Arloa, if he made up a whole different name for you? Like, Arloa, you become Sophia. Hey, Sophia. Why do you call me Sophia? Because famous actress. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Good to have you here. I appreciate you being here on the program, all of you. Don't forget, my friends, Friday, September the 5th. It's our charity golf event. And you want to be there, and you want to get registered, and I hope you will. If you're out of town, don't think that this is just a Colorado thing. We do have people that come in from out of town. I talked to a guy this week that has been a part of the show before, and he's been a part of the show before. He's a sponsor of the show before, a sponsor of the golf tournament before, and he's in Georgia. He was in town. He says he's desperately trying to get back in from Georgia. It's reach out to us, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Reach out to us and register for the golf tournament. We'd appreciate you doing that. It's Friday, September the 5th. Coming from out of town. It's a great time, and it goes for a great cause, and we need your help to do that. If you're a business owner, or maybe you're just out of town, you don't want to come, but you'd like to. We have some whole sponsorships and other level sponsorships available. The whole sponsorships, our buddy Steve Laffey, who's taken some time off the show to do some travel. He hasn't been with us. He recently sponsored a hole. You go to the golf tournament, say stevelaffey.com. He sponsored a hole. Jay Ratliff is sponsoring a plethora of holes. That's an entry-level sponsorship that anybody out there can probably do, even if you're not going to play in the tournament. If you'd like to be a bigger level sponsor, those are on the website as well. Homeswithsherry.com. Go there as well. Sherry Cree will be playing in the golf tournament, but go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for us. We got to wrap it up today. Tomorrow will be the Thursday edition of the show. Don't forget those memes that you can help us with, those anti-Philadelphia Eagle things. Send that to info@jimmylakey.com. 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 Until we meet again tomorrow morning, my phone is absolutely blowing up. That's where I got to get it. I don't know what's going on there. Everybody in the world's decided to call, page me, beat me. I guess they don't realize the importance of this broadcast. They're willing to interrupt me on a moment's notice. That's okay. I'm a trained professional. Until we meet again tomorrow, may God bless you. May God please bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I want Whataburger.